Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We're going to do a review of Autobiography of Malcolm X as told to Alex Haley, inshallah. Let me find the page in my notebook here. So we're doing chapter 17. Chapter 17. The title of chapter 17 is Mecca. The Hajj or pilgrimage to Mecca is a religious obligation for Orthodox Muslims. The Holy Quran says, quote, pilgrimage to Kaaba is a duty men owe to God. Those who are able make the journey, end quote. Malcolm was approached by white-complexioned Muslims from the Middle East, and during his college speeches, they felt Malcolm would embrace Islam if he was exposed to it. Malcolm says, quote, if one is sincere in professing a religion, why would he balk at broadening his knowledge of that religion, end quote. Malcolm was urged by Orthodox Muslims to meet Dr. Mahmoud Yusuf Shawarbi. Dr. Shawarbi told Malcolm, quote, no man believed perfectly until he wished for his brother what he wished for himself, end quote. Then Malcolm went to see his sister Ella. Regarding Ella, he says, quote, she had played a very significant role in my life. No other woman ever was strong enough to point me in directions. I pointed them in directions, end quote. Dr. Shawarbi had to approve Malcolm's trip for Hajj to Mecca. Malcolm flew out from Kennedy International Airport to Jeddah. During the trip, Malcolm had a layover in Frankfurt, Germany, and he went sightseeing. Malcolm mentioned the hospitality of the people in Frankfurt. He writes, quote, Europeans act more human or humane, whichever the word is. Then Malcolm took a plane to Cairo, Egypt. Malcolm saw Muslims of all colors embracing one another. Malcolm stayed in Cairo a few days sightseeing. He was impressed by the industrialization and modernization of the city. He's talking about the housing, the highways, and the manufacturing of the city. And that's Cairo. He also observed how taxes are wasted with food surplus. The money that they spend to store the food and the money that they spend to remove it once it spoils. Malcolm says, quote, the literal meaning of Hajj in Arabic is to set out toward a definitive objective, end quote. In Cairo, Malcolm bought a small valise, which is a small bag. It was just big enough to carry one suit, a shirt, a pair of underwear sets, and a pair of shoes into Arabia, end quote. Malcolm started to get nervous and knew he would have to follow others because this was his first time performing Hajj. Entering Hiram, everyone only wore two towels, one around the loins called the Itzar, and one around the left shoulder called the Rida, and simple sandals and a bag for your papers. That was what Malcolm wore into going into Mecca. Malcolm writes, quote, every one of the thousands at the airport about to leave for Jeddah was dressed this way, so everybody looked the same. Malcolm writes, quote, he says, quote, you could be a king or a peasant and no one would know, end quote. Malcolm writes, quote, packed in the plane were white, black, brown, red, and yellow people, all honoring the same God, Allah, all in turn giving equal honor to each other, end quote. Malcolm met the pilot, who was a dark black man from Egypt. Malcolm had never seen a black man flying a jet. He writes, quote, in America I had ridden more planes than probably any other Negro, and I never had been invited up to the cockpit, end quote. Jeddah is the place where all pilgrims came to get to Mecca. He writes about a prayer that has the essence of the oneness of God. Malcolm was nervous as he waited for his passport to be inspected. He felt the American